Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, this week has been insane with the introduction of Blob. Blob has burst into the meta, and I gotta tell you, it's been absolutely wild how much it's actually shaking up the decks that are at the top, and more or less how like Conquest looks like, how Ladder looks like. So I'd be interested in starting off our discussion with our review of Blob. Cozy, what do you think of Blob?
I've never seen a card ever kill another card so fast. And not just like, oh, another card. Like Darkhawk vanished. The only way you can even play him is with Leech at the moment because everybody's running Blob. And it's kind of funny the disrespect Blob got. Blob got so much. Like, I think I gave him a 4, and you gave him like a 3.5, I think is where that ended up at. Why we weren't giving out just like raving reviews, because he is that alternate win condition, right? Like his reliability, what he does. I don't want to steal all the points of what we're going to talk about Blob, but my gosh, is he not just a very good card from start to finish? And the ultimate Darkhawk counter finally comes full circle a year later, Alex.
Yeah, so first of all, yes, it's kind of crazy to think that, like, okay, maybe we shot a little low on Blob, and I think I'm willing to admit that perhaps I thought Blob was going to be a little more restrictive than he ultimately ended up being. But one thing I will say, and this is like an incredibly hot take, but one thing I will say is, aren't you kind of glad that Alioth exists now that Blob's in the meta? Because without Alioth, you would have like no counterplay to this absolute monster. Because at least now, if you know, hey, oh, I'm against a Thanos deck, I know what's up. They're going to try and lock down this location. They're going to try and lock down that location. They're going to blob slam me. But I got a plan. I'm going to earn initiative. And no matter how big, how many Gigantos they have stuffed into their deck, no matter what, my Alioth is going to deal with that damn bikini-wearing SOB, because that's what Alioth does. I don't know. I know that's a hot take, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely a hot take. I'll let you read into the sunset with that one. I like Shang-Chi, like not having priority and having Shang-Chi feels really good too. I mean, it made me love Shang-Chi again, if anything, right? Because like people are playing down their early blobs, which I'm like, what's the game plan after that? We both know you have 4 cards left in the deck, and I killed that. What now? You know, like with Shang-Chi, you typically have to wait. Turn 6, surprise play. Nah, dude, smack him in the face now. And then they're like, what now? What do you do, right? And I think Blob is best played, though, on turn 6 for multiple reasons. Not bad to get him out there early, too. But he's the other Alioth, right? Alioth kills cards. He just puts so much power, you can't beat it. And then that's like kind of takes me to the best point about him. He's unpredictable, right? And I think the fact that he can put out 17 power, 18, 25, his averages are stupid. I got to play test him early. And I gotta say, man, I was playtesting him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't know what's coming. People don't know what's coming with this guy. It's the fact that all of a sudden in the She-Nods, you don't need the Hulk. You don't need these other big cards because you're Blob to kind of do the main heavy lifting as a kind of deck thinner in a way, right? He's so good, and he's gonna be around for a very long time. I think Blob is a staple now of a card. This is it. You guys, if you're listening to it now, if you're on the fence, I think you get Blob. More so, do you think Blob is better than Selene and Havoc? I absolutely do.
So now that we've had a chance to playtest him, I do think that like you cannot argue that he is going to be meta relevant. And I think this is one of the key advantages to waiting like the weekend to see how cards shape up, because this is the perfect example of like what something looks like on Tuesday versus what it looks like on Saturday, especially when people get a chance to start brewing and cooking with it. Things change rapidly, and both of us were correct on identifying that Thanos was going to be one of the absolute top shells for him, and that has proven to be absolutely true. So yeah, I absolutely agree, and like as a consolation, you're still getting Ravonna, who I just finished talking about was one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap right now, which you definitely agreed with. So yeah, like 100%, I think it's definitely worth rolling on Blob. And you are touching on a very important thing as well. Now you mentioned Shang-Chi. I actually have not been running Shang-Chi. I've been running Shadow King instead. I feel like it's cheaper and I can deal with Blob's 4 power. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's still there at 4 kind of feels like, who cares? He's at 4, whatever. He still exists, but I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, Shang-Chi, Shadow King, if you do not have initiative, are perfect answers. If you do have initiative, Alioth is a perfect answer there. However, what I will say is that what you said is perfect. it doesn't really matter if he's a 6'21" or a 6'48". He's just so damn big that he's going to win anyway. Like, he just wins the location regardless. So, like, I have found myself leaning towards less greedy decks, right? But what you said before as well with the idea of using a Coccia to deal with the mirror matches is interesting, because that is a consideration.
Yeah, so it's just, first of all, I want to say, can we just say something about the spotlights lately? Like, oh my gosh, they've been so good. Like, Jeff was on the first week. This week might be the, like, Ravona is just an incredible card. You have Blob, and then Living Tribunal is awesome. Like, having access to that card is just a win, especially now because Living Tribunal cannot be hit by Shang-Chi, so it's even better now. People kind of don't realize that. And then we go right into another banger week, right? Legion and Nico, sign me up. So just something to be said about that. Iron Lad's coming. Like, every card that you could want to come to series drops are here, and then we just hope they announce that, right? But on top of that, we also going to be breaking down those here in a second of what we think are the top 10 Series 5 cards. But Blob is going to fit into... Thanos is going to have his heyday. I think I'm glad Thanos has another card to kind of bring it all together. And it doesn't need a life. Like, you know, if a life does get completely nerfed and nuked to the ground, Blob is that other win condition piece for that, which I love to see. You know, I have to see how this plays out. Even if the lockdown mechanic goes away, because it's lock down a lane, play Blob, lock down a lane, play a Lithe, I still think Blob is going to be in those decks. Blob can be into a lot of these other decks that want to work this way. He's fun in Hella. He's fun and good in Ramp. We saw Ramp as one of the top 2 decks in the finals, and we saw it really good. I think Ramp is, on a quick side note, I think Ramp is actually harder to pilot than people think too. I think Ramp is very easy to pilot with very complex navigation, because you have so many cards that you can play, right? But you can only do about one of those. And do you play Salmon? Do you not? I think Amano Satoshi really highlighted Ramp, and Blob fits there too.
Blob does fit there. I do find that Blob's a little more difficult to pilot in that ramp shell, but playing him out on 5 actually isn't usually that bad, because like usually because you're playing a ramp style deck, even if you play him out early and destroy your deck, like you're still probably holding like a Magneto or a Dr. Doom, or like you usually have some sort of answer anyway in your hand, which is kind of nice. So he did feel pretty good there. I do prefer the Thanos shells,
of course.
To be honest
Thanos,
with you. I do think they're better.
Thanos is the best by far. Like, it's not even close. Thanos is the best, then everything comes after.
Yeah, one thing that we're talking about decks here, I want to highlight something very, very important here, okay? So when we're talking about decks, and one of the benefits to waiting before deciding when you're going to purchase a card and use your resources, so on aggregate right now, and this is kind of like how statistics can lie, and I just want to take a second to talk about this. Right now, Blob has a 49% win rate on aggregate at a 0.01% cube rate, and that's in post-infinite, and that's an untapped statistic. Totally wrong. Totally inaccurate. Why is that inaccurate, Alex? Why is that such an important time? Blob does not have a 40. So what happened was this, okay? You had a whole bunch of experimentation earlier in the week, right? When Blob first came out, and the most popular decks that took off, ironically, were relatively low win rate. And then later on in the week after we released that video, suddenly Blob's win rate started increasing. So the reason why I bring this up is because when you're trying to evaluate whether or not you want to spend your resources, especially if you're a free-to-play player, it's so critical that you allow some time for the meta to kind of evolve over the week, because Blob was undershot those first few days. And in my testing on like the launch day video, I was like, this card feels pretty damn good. And my experience, because I was playing a Thanos shell very similar to yours, was very different to some others. And then ultimately, by the end of the week, this card has clearly proven that it's going to be meta relevant. So I just wanted to say that sometimes the statistics don't always tell the full story until the meta and the decks start to really get cooked and shape up.
Yeah, so I want to break down that in 2 halves. First of all, I would say, and I broke it down in my video, every person, creator, whatever, had the same deck built, and they were missing like 3 cards. And what you plugged in those 3 cards were the difference of those decks you saw. The flavor that I went to was Legion Arrow. I wasn't seeing any of that done. Arrow, I was going to play her just because she had good stats, and I was like, oh, I could use her to effectiveness. And we talked about it last week. What does Thanos do well? He ramps into 5 costs, right? So that starts there. Legion I had in there, exactly what we were talking about on my side of the Snapchat, to deal with the high evo, right? I didn't want to deal with the limbos, and just to get the advantage of all the stones. I love Legion within Thanos. That's kind of where I end up on Blob. When I look at him, he's going to be in most of your favorite decks or your big decks And there's going to be more cards coming out even in the next 2 months, both in January and as well in February, that Blob's going to love. He's going to continue to get good cards. I'm telling you, he's going to be meta relevant when we're talking about this next year.
Now, the question I have to ask, which I know is going to be frequent in the comment section, is, does this card get nerfed? Does it get changed?
No.
Does it get modified? Because people don't want to spend their credits, their tokens, their spotlight caches if this card goes... Like, if it drops to a 6-0, is it still playable?
Nah, guys, chill out. Not everything gets nerfed. I think, like, Nico, oh my god, Nico's going to get nerfed. Like, Nico didn't get nerfed. It might eventually, but, like, no, I don't think so. I think Blob... and you got to look at how they would nerf a card, and there's no good way to nerf Blob. It's the same as Werewolf by Night, in my opinion, but Blob is even more untouchable. Because Werewolf, you can go up a cost and screw him up. What are you going to do about Blob? Take him to a 6-0? I'll play him in negative, you know, like, and then he's even more scary. They can't do that because of negative. 6-4 is a perfect stat line. 6-3 even, okay. I'll take my 98 powered Blob. There's nothing that you can do to him, in my opinion, to really mess with him. Yeah, just stop being afraid of nerfs. I get it, guys. I understand. They nerf a lot of cards, but they also buff a lot. They also keep a lot. I think Blob is going to be kept.
Yeah, I'm just getting ahead of the comments here, Cozy. You know exactly what
I know,
meant by
right?
that.
Oh, no, I've got him all week like, oh, I'm not going to buy him because, you know, second dinner's going to... It's like, play another game. Like,
Yeah,
at this
I know,
point.
I know. But regardless, okay, so we are definitely giving the 2 thumbs up here on Blob. Definitely worth going after with your spotlight caches, with your keys, and with your tokens as well. It's going to be meta relevant for some time. So ultimately, Cozy, we're giving it the thumbs up, and I think the Blob is worth getting. Now, that brings us to our next point of conversation here, which always makes me nervous because we have not done a top 10 of Series 5 cards in the longest time. Yeah. And we've actually been, okay, so since the only time we've ever been like step to step was on that discard top 10 we did so long ago, where we literally went almost the entire thing. Now, this one here, it's going to be really hard to follow that up because I feel like we're going to be all over the place here with our top 10s. And I'm actually really interested in having this discussion because there's a lot of really good Series 5 cards because guess what? They have been only Series 5 cards for months and months and months. Hopefully Series Drop news coming soon, by the way. They did mention they're going to have news by the end of the year. And we're almost at the end of the year, Cozy. So anyways, top 10, Series 5.
I have to ask real quick, was it really hard for you not to get this? Well, obviously not because of how egregious it was locked. But this Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, was it just like, oh, my gal? Even though you don't really play her much anymore, though, no?
I was actually super sad to see that like she was as deep into the because I don't have the cards. I don't have the Hellfire Gala cards, and it actually has a really nice card back in that album too.
Yeah, right? yeah.
And I was like, man, I actually really want it. So like, listen, I'm trying to be very conservative with my spending. Trying to just be a little more reasonable. We have been getting tempted over and over and over again with these like beautiful variants. By the way, I got a question. Jane Foster, do you have the Archer Jane Foster?
Yeah.
And do you like the Archer Jane Foster more or this new one that you got?
No, definitely the new one. I've been waiting for this one forever.
Bruh.
I know. I love this one, though. I love this one. Don't get me wrong. They're both good. It's like, it's tough to pick. This Black Panther might be like one of the best, though. This one was really good. The Doctor Doom is tremendous. The magic.
Go back to that Doom. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Look at that Kirby rainbow. Look at this guy. The audio viewers are loving it here. Okay, Cozy, you have to do the audio viewer description here.
You know, it's like just slightly short, right? Don't have the gold back. Don't have the, it's not inkified, but it's got a rainbow split. And honestly, it's what kind of why the chrome does work, man. The green Doctor Doom looking like he's headed to the snowball gown, the winter ball. And he's definitely taken a fancy date, man. Like, Doom's dressing up here, yeah? I mean, come on. Look at this. Look at this golden wear.
Cozy, that delivery wasn't sensual enough. You're not, like, getting into the mic. You're not getting, like, emotional. You're
It's not
like,
sexy
this
enough.
is ASMR here, buddy.
What am I supposed to say? Like, I don't know.
Okay, Rod. So let me do it for you. Let me get it for you. Okay, ready? Okay, listen. This is the variant.
Second of the
variant
pod.
description. Imagine Doctor Doom dressed like Jon Snow, preparing to enter the Hellfire Gala.
It was good. It was
Thank you.
It was the Jane Foster one. I had to go take a cold shower. That one was like gave me goosebumps, you know. But yes, the Hellfire variants were really good. I'll never use another magic in my life. That's for damn sure. The Forge just gives me the chuckles too, because I feel like this Forge was on like Microsoft Paint for whatever reason. And
what are we even talking about right now? We totally derailed ourselves on this pod. That Gambit, by the way, that Gambit's hilarious to me.
this one, yeah, there's a lot happening.
There's a lot going on in this game. Okay, Cozy, you gotta do this one. Try ASMR this. Let's go.
Pass. Top 10 Series 5 cards, Alex. We could go on for hours on this segment as usual here. But let's go ahead and jump in. I want to do no honorable mentions because I don't want to spoil anything. I want to go right into it, buddy. Let's go in with number 10. What do you got?
Number 10 for me, Nebula. I'm choosing Nebula as a top 10 card because, listen, I think this card is remarkable. I love the pseudo control element it has. 51% win rate across Infinite, 17% meta share. Again, just like we talked about Sentry, how it forces your opponent to play in a way they might not be expecting or might want to. This card is great. It puts up power. I love it. Nebula number 10.
Nebula was my 11. Nebula really good. I try to look at all the decks, the metas, the past metas, not just the current, and Nebula is right out of it for me. Now, I can't wait, guys. I cannot wait for Alex's reaction on some of my placements here. At number 10 is where I have, and I could put him a lot higher because of like this meta, but I have the Blob here. I have the Blob slipping in at number 10. Could have gone higher, but Blob is the newest Series 5 card, and I think it's going to be a staple moving forward. So Blob is at number 10.
I conservatively have him at number 11, by the way. So,
Well,
like, I totally respected the fact that, like, he's pretty legit here. And, but I didn't put him in the top 10. But yeah, like, we just talked about, like, I mean, if you want a 95 power card, you know where to find it, right? Like, so,
I like
number
that.
9, Cozy. Number 9. Now, you're going to actually be upset with me, and I do apologize in advance. Cozy's going to actually get worked up here. Nico. Nico at number 9. I look at his face. He's already upset. He's so insulted.
What are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're gonna have like friggin' high Evo at like 3 or something. All right, what do you got?
What are you gonna ruin my list for like that? Why are you gonna do that to me?
Okay, well, tell me why Nico is at 9, Alex.
Because, okay, Nico is damn good, and it has applications across so many different decks, but it's still a 1 cost. It's still a 1 cost. It like we be like so. Nico doesn't like usually. Oh my god, I'm gonna catch myself here. It doesn't usually just solo win you a game. Some of these cards are so impactful. Nico is impactful, but it's not. It's not like straight up better than some of the cards I have higher on the list.
You high, Alex? You drunk right now? Are you drinking?
Yes. Yes.
Dude, Nico's stupid, man. Nico's so good. Copying a card, man, destroying it for 2 draw. She's really good. Hey.
It's safe to say that Cozy disagrees.
Yes, safely. I love it. By the way, guys, if I see another, like, you guys are being hard on each other. Like, we're like best buddies. Like, get over. We're not ever like. I'm never like, hey, shit, take Alex. Anyway, number 9 for me is definitely not Nico. Number 9 for me is going to be Iron Lad, and just I love it because Alex is like, I'm not putting Iron Lad on my list. I can just tell you right now, makes no sense. Iron Lad's in every deck. He's very good. Definitely one of the best cards in the game. Could have put him higher. This whole list is tough. I gotta be honest about it. But yeah, Iron Lad's at number 9 for me.
You know what? It's funny because in my brackets for my favorite cards of the month, I actually have Iron Lad. I didn't bring it up because I know you get angry when I bring up too many cards. I've been playing a lot of Iron Lad lately, and like you can't deny how good the card is.
All right, what's that? Number 8?
Okay, number 8. I don't know if you can get mad at me for saying Annihilus is a top 10 card here.
No,
I think Annihilus goes in at number 8. Maybe do you have him higher? Possibly, but he has a 53% win rate. He holds 7% of the meta, which is a beautiful spot. 7% of the meta means people aren't seeing it very often. But it's enough that when you catch him with it, they're like, oh, damn, this is an Elias deck. I'm not prepared for this, right?
Yeah.
I love Annihilus. I think this card is low-key. Like, if you're trying to just get to Infinite, you want to just get, like, a really solid cube rate deck. Like, you probably have Sentry. Like, this card is phenomenal.
Yeah, really, really good card. I have him read out as, like, a single card in his impact. I have him out of my top 10. But he's fantastic. Now, when Celine comes by, he's in there for sure. What he does well, I think, and that even though his Annihilus balance is like a top 3 deck, the cards around it, I think, also make it really good. So it's tough to just focus on just Annihilus. Like, if you don't top deck Annihilus, I think that deck can still win. Very good, though. Easily in the top 12, if that makes you happy. But definitely love the pick there. Number 8 for myself is going to be... Oh, I can't wait for Alex. Is like, how dare you? Is High Evo. Yeah, this is where I got High Evo. At number 8... for myself. He's good. He's a good card. Definitely good. I think there are just as single cards, like it's tough. It's really tough to weight this list, right, Alex? Because like high Evo is the only card you need to really make this deck work. So like if you're a new player, this is like number 2. Yeah, I think number 2. If you're a newer player, I think high Evo is number 2. As far as like just putting a deck wrapped into a bow, I put high Evo there. If I'm just talking to who I think the audience is, that's where I put him at around number 8 at the moment. But I can certainly agree on he's probably the best Series 5, right there with one other who's my number 1 as the best.
Talking about shit takes, let's kind of just like rewind this a little bit. So you're saying that for brand new players, high Evo is number 2?
Yep.
I would suggest for all players it might be number 2. I mean, that's a conversation we have to have a little bit later, Cozy. Maybe a couple more spots from this. Now, number 7, Cozy, for me. I'm trying to just move on because I'm upset. I can't believe you. This is shocking that you've done high Evo this dirty.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is shocking to me. I can't even. First, it's a nihilist you leave out of the top 10. Now it's high evolutionary getting absolutely just pumped. I can't believe this. Anyways.
This is a man. This is the guy that's angry at the store because he's having a bad day. I get it. Your list is garbage. Let's move on though. You got to make up with like anti or like counter heat. I get it. I totally get it, man.
My number 7, Cozy, you'd never guess. Because it's Iron Lad. 53% win rate, 20% of the meta. Yeah, okay, he's good.
I have nothing to say. Next up for me, Alex, I have Miss Marvel. I hope Miss Marvel made your list because she's absolutely cracked, absolutely broken. Very, very good card. And another one that I would say is like one of my favorites for new players as well. Also with people with full collections. So good that I don't even know if she lasts in her current state. Still one of my favorite cards within the game. Love what she does. 15 power, 4 drop. You got 10 power, if not as good as Century. Miss Marvel's coming in at number 7.
A very, very cool pick. Like, I do like Miss Marvel. She's a couple places higher for me. But I agree for everything you said. Like, it's just an overall absolute banger card across all collection levels, applied to pretty much every single archetype. And so, yeah, I love the card. Absolutely. Now we're on to number 6. Cozy, would you like to lead the way with number 6?
Yeah, you want me to go back to back? I'll go back to back. I got Thanos.
Okay. Thanos. Okay, I see. You're gonna be you're gonna be very disappointed. Thanos is not in my top 10. I actually had Thanos / Blob as 11 for the record because I considered them like one piece, which I know you hate.
I think it was like 2 Snapchats ago. You like couldn't believe I didn't have Thanos. Like you couldn't conjure that I left up Thanos as one of the best Series 5 cards, and now he's not on your top 10. There's so much usability. The stones, Cozy, the stones, and like it was all of it. Now he's on your list. Maybe he's up there. Did you check? Is he up there? Is he on like 3?
No, he's okay. I'll double check. No, he's not there because it's Blob / Thanos at 11. I have because I needed more information about Blob and Thanos, and I think they're going hand in hand right now. And like, listen, I love Thanos, but like right now, like we're talking about absolutely insane cards coming up. Like they're all insane, and Thanos without Blob has felt kind of horrible. Let's be honest. Like it has not felt good. Blob has kind of rejuvenated it a little bit, and Okoye to some degree, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah, at 11, I have blank / blank / blank. I have 9 slashes with cards at 11 for me, Alex. But this is like just a roast at this point. I love this. Yeah, so Thanos, man, he's great. Good for new players. Ramping into 5s is proven time and time again. Thanos is taking hits for other cards being good. And Thanos is just being Thanos and doing his thing, man. Love it. Love what he does. The meta right now is not around Killmonger, which is great. That's where I got Thanos. What about you, bud?
Is Thanos the card that a few months ago I forgot to put on the top 10 as a whole?
Probably that too, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a history of Thanos already. Nice. No, you forgot to put Thanos on a list at some point.
That was high Evo for me.
That's right. Number 6, it's Miss Marvel. I love Miss Marvel. Can I say the amount of power that you can put out on the board, as we just discussed, is truly remarkable. And I got to tell you, I was low on Miss Marvel originally, but like the requirements to get her power out, having a card there, have not been as difficult as perhaps I originally thought. Honestly, Doctor Doom solves pretty much all of that. Like Doctor Doom, the Doom bots go, hey, check me out. I'm actually not 5 power, I'm 10 power because of Miss Marvel, right? So I do really like Miss Marvel. I think that she's been incredibly flexible. And so, ultimately, I think she's solid. One of the best cards in the game without question. And going on to number 5. I mean, we've got to be starting to get closer on some of these cards. There's a couple cards you haven't mentioned yet that I'm sure you have to. So I'm going to go to number 5. It's Werewolf by Night. 52% win rate. Only 6% of the meta share right now. I think Blob is taking a nice chunk out of them, but you can't deny that Werewolf by Night is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. And we identified it on the Snapchat months ago that, hey, save up for this card. It's going to be a wild one. And it has absolutely delivered on that. In fact, we even discussed it potentially being a villain in Marvel Snap. So yeah, I'm all about Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, I've got him at 4. Werewolf by Night, man, like, he's crazy. He's crazy. Like, he may not be the flavor of the week, but insane stats. Priority dodging is what... not only priority dodging, but he can move and avoid Shang-Chi or Shadow King. That's what makes him so good. It's what made Kitty Pryde good and why I love him at 4. But number 5 for me, Alex. And I like the Wolf pick. Definitely good. Really good card overall. And I think that he's going to be a mainstay. And he's one of the few that I would get as like a solo winner that you can build around. This is where I've got Nico, man. I think Nico definitely, the impact that she has, what she can do, having the power of the demon, the drawing 2 cards, moving to the right suspect. The +2, I've even seen some nutty numbers come and bounce that way. Changing location is awesome if you don't text something like to deal with the decks that you love. And then, of course, getting the copy of the card might be my favorite piece of the entire kit. Ignoring Moon Girl and just using Nico, which is why I can't stop playing her and putting her into my decks. So that is 5 Nico, 4 Wolf. You're on 4, buddy.
4 for me. It's got to be the good old baby land shark. It hurts that I didn't put him higher. But I mean, listen, he's 32% of the meta. I mean, it's not anyone's surprise that Jeff is incredible, but he is a 2-drop. He can go absolutely anywhere. He can go play absolutely into anything, but still, right? I think that the ceiling on Jeff is a little lower on some of these other cards I'm going to talk about, but still absolutely one of my favorite cards in the game. And if I was to do a top 10 list in general of all cards, there's a good chance he's number 4 and number 3 there for sure too. So right now on this deck, this list, I'm putting him at number 4.
Yeah, Jeff and Nico with the 2, I was like, okay, they can both be in any deck, but which one do I use the most? And it is Jeff over Nico ever so slightly, mainly being able to move out of a location, playing back into it. Like, Jeff breaking the rules is fun, and the lockdown is great, but it's like all the other things that he does is just so damn good. I have Jeff at 3 for me, Alex. Have him higher than the Jeff lover himself. I'm surprised. I love Jeff, buddy. So we're on year 3, and I'll just let you take it away with High Evo now. All right, no, he's at 2 for you, yeah?
I did spoil the fact that High Evolutionary is my number 2. Do you want to take a guess who my number 3 is?
Goliath.
Nope.
Loki?
Yes. It's Loki. Loki's number 3 for me. Loki still remains like an absolute god tier card. Like legitimately, we've talked about it 100 times in this podcast. In the most competitive of circumstances, people turn to Loki to win tournaments. People turn to Loki to just get the dubs, to level up in the ranked ladder, to get to the top echelons of Marvel Snap, and it continues to be Loki. Even though, like, as a whole, I don't know about you, I'm seeing less Loki. Yeah. Like, I just am. Yeah. But he's still damn good.
For sure. I'm definitely seeing less of Loki, but just an absolute insane card to deal with. Again, it's just not... I know. Listen, you can talk about High Evo. Goliath at 2, Loki at 1 for me. I still have Loki at 1 and Goliath at 2, and I think we just did a list of, like, hated cards or villains, and it was the same, intertwined. It is what it is until they get addressed. I think Goliath is the ultimate I win card, and Loki is the ultimate deck that's built around. I think those 2 cards stand alone as insanity. And honestly, if we look at this entire list, everything like 8 and above are just smashing cards. Very good, that can transcend a deck. There are some that are played by themselves. There are some that are great because they're versatile. There are some that are great because they have a meta deck around them. And then there's Goliath, right? Who is the card of cards, right? The one ring to rule them all. My bad. So I have him at number 1. So it's High Evo 2 and then Goliath 1 for you?
Yes. So for clarity, do you mind going through your top 3?
Yeah, so I have Jeff at 3, I have Goliath at 2, Loki at 1.
All right, so I was Loki 3, High Evo 2, Goliath at 1. So we kind of disagree on the High Evo there, but ultimately we do get the Goliath call, and I do agree. And I'm going to go back to what I said at the top of this podcast, or top of this particular episode, but long story short, I think that Goliath, my respect for Goliath has increased with the introduction of Blob. Because if we didn't have Goliath, and if you've lost initiative, right? If you have initiative, you have no answer. You have no answer to Blob. Blob's going to come down and be like a 75 or whatever it's going to be. And you're just like, well, I guess I just lose. Like, I can't do anything here. Alioth is the critical answer for a card like Blob. Blob will never be a 70% win rate card because Alioth exists, right? It is an evil, but with something like a Blob release, it kind of starts to feel like a necessary evil. And I don't know if I'm baiting anger in the comment section or not.
You're pissing
but
people
listen,
off
I'm just
already.
saying, this week I have gained an appreciation for Alioth because it is the answer to Blob in that circumstance. Otherwise, if if they have initiative, you have the Shongers, you have the Shadow King, but otherwise, what do you do?
I'm seeing Shang-Chi the most. As the answer to Blob mainly. But if you have initiative, then yeah, you are in tight water, right? And you better have piloted the game differently. I don't know how they're going to handle this card. I truly don't. They just keep knocking a power back and being like, I hope it works, but it doesn't, because people are still playing it. It's kind of like what they did with Galactus. It's like Galactus just kept being played no matter how many times they adjusted him. And it was like, well, it's not even about the stats anymore. It's about what he does, to the game or whatever. And so it's a bigger conversation, I think. But you're also correct in what you're saying, because there's going to be more blobs that come, and we'll need something like Alioth. But right now, it's the strat of like lockdown, play Alioth, lockdown, play Alioth, and that's just what all these decks do well, right? Ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, I'm not like, what I'm trying to say here is that like, I think the strategy of trying to maintain initiative is super important. I've been playing 2 decks to counter Blob. I've been playing a lockdown based deck where I'm taking initiative, playing Alioth to make sure they can't Blob. I'm also playing a Silver Surfer deck where I'm taking initiative, owning initiative, and then playing Negasonic. And Negasonic has the same effect as Alioth, in my opinion, where it'll basically delete the Blob because the Blob can't really do anything anyways, right? Yeah. You still have Storm to lock down, stuff like that. So I'm using Goose. So I'm using Storm and Goose to predict where the Blob's going to end up being, where I can Negasonic. And I've been extremely successful with that. But I do like the play style and the strategy of saying, hey, you know what? I need to deal with this. I'm against a Thanos player. I know they're playing Blob. I need to hold initiative, maintain initiative for that finishing play. Now, if I don't have initiative, I walk. I know. I also have Shadow King in that deck anyways. But regardless, Alioth, number 1, I think we both agree. Absolute top tier card. And does it get changed in the future? I don't know. Like, I tend to start to feel like it's getting to the point where it should be okay, Cozy. But I digress. Maybe, just maybe, it gets touched up a little more. But it feels like a necessary evil at this point. We're going to move on to our mailbag segment, mailbag. And we got 5 questions from the community here. And if you're interested in having your question answered on the mailbag, whether it be about Marvel Snap or literally anything, leave it in the comment section down below. Let's get started with question number 1, Cozy. This is from Andrew. Andrew says, great episode as per usual. How do you feel about deck trackers? Are they fair or are they unfair?
What do you think, Alex?
I think they're, interesting because Blob feels like you make deck trackers mandatory almost. Like, you can do the math around Blob now and deck trackers provide a legitimate advantage. What I will say though is that if you really want a pen and paper a deck tracker, you can. Yep. I feel like they're fair.
Yeah, they're completely fair. Like 100% fair. I think, even Ben Brode answered this a long time ago. Like, even in tournament formats, anything you can do on a pen and paper, as long as that's on a deck tracker, it's fair. Like, if the deck tracker showed what, whatever you took from a deck that you shouldn't be seeing or whatever it might be, then maybe not. But like, if your opponent cabled you and you could see that, then that's not good. But you can't. That's not how they're designed. So I do think deck trackers are fair. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I often find it valuable as well to like be reminded what is in their deck. Although at my level, I often feel like I'm playing, like I can predict what's in their deck. Like most players I'm playing, I feel like they have their pieces. If I'm playing against a control player, I'm like, I know exactly. They have Alioth, they have their, you know what I mean? They have their pieces, but it can be a helpful tool to kind of be reminded of what's in their deck, especially as you start to do some math. But I think it really shines in situations where like you're playing like Jubilee decks, Iron Lad decks, stuff like where you're like, what is left in my deck? Oh, I could hit, I have a 33% chance to hit my Hela with my Iron Lad or whatever it happens to be. I think that's where kind of, is more prevalent. And of course with Blob because of the pure power potential that you can kind of calculate in the deck. All right, Cozy, thank you. And our next question comes from Willer Honey. How can free-to-play players collect cards that are not must-haves in Marvel Snap's meta? It feels like I'm sacrificing cards I would play for fun in favor of cards that'll keep me from falling too far behind pay-to-play players. So I guess they're trying to like determine like, is it hard as a free-to-play player to make the decision before, like, do I take a fun card like Gladiator that I'm going to enjoy playing, or do I have to like forget about Gladiator and make sure that I'm saving up for that Iron Lad that's coming up in the next cache?
Well, don't ever buy Gladiator. Yeah, I would say play the game to have fun, right? Like, why are you playing Marvel Snap? If you're playing Marvel Snap to have fun in a mobile game at work, like, play it to have fun, man. Don't worry about playing the top deck. And on that note, like, focus on one deck. I see people like, oh, I should do this. Oh, wait, no, I'll do this. And then they have like all these other cards. Or get cards like Iron Lad and Jeff that can be played across multiple decks and then build a deck that you want to go with. So no, you don't have to get every card. You don't have to get Blob, because Blob's just an extra piece into a Thanos meta that's going to go and come and go, right? So, dude, have fun with the game first. And second is like, just, there's a million good decks out there. Focus on the one you like to play and get the cards that do so, yeah.
And I know that like there's a FOMO element of it as well. Like even as content creators, like when a new card comes out, like we all cover the new card and there's a lot of interest around the new card. And so like you kind of feel as a free to play player, like, oh, this is the one I got to throw my currency into and stuff like that. I think that being measured and waiting till the end of the week, as we've discussed like 4 times in this podcast, will help you make kind of more informed decisions. But ultimately, like we just joked about how I love playing Gladiator. The card's not a good card, but it's one of the most fun cards in Marvel Snap. And I think that there is a lot of value in literally playing the game for fun, as Coccia had said. So I know it's a difficult balance, but that's a question that really only self-reflection is going to answer, because it's a challenging one. Our next question comes from Revi. What's your favorite thing to do outside of gaming and content? Cozy, you can't pick surfing. We already know that one.
Calculated. Yeah, I was like, damn, there it goes. No, I did a tough one. I mean, obviously spending time with my family, doing different things with the kids. My kid. But other than that, I'm a huge sports nut. So like anything with live sports, anything watching sports, I'm huge. You can catch me always watching the NFL and Red Zone, checking out NCAA games, keeping tabs there, going to live baseball games, basketball games. I mean, that's a huge epicenter of what I love, right? My father, my grandfather grew me up in that. Activity going on, adventures or something. Yeah, I see that on everybody's like, what do they like to do? I don't even know what that means anymore. But I'm, loving doing that. I also love like fix up stuff. Like I love fixing up a house and doing like different handiwork and stuff. I find a lot of fun in that. What about you, man?
Yeah, so for me, it's like number one is definitely spending time with my kids. I mean, it's I know it's cliche to say, but like they really do grow up so fast. And like, so I really try to make mental note of like, listen, I want to remember these moments when I'm with them. And so like that is by far number one. But the second thing that I'll mention that's not just like family oriented is I love writing. I do a lot of writing. That is something a lot of people wouldn't know. Like I've written like books, stuff like that. I do a lot of screenwriting, script writing with some other channels and other projects that I work on. More like a producer role. I'm not on camera in those types of projects. But like I recently wrote something that got it's at like 9 million views. I think it hit about 9 million views. A little short that I wrote for kind of a production company. And then we have another one that's blowing. Yeah, thank you. It's pretty cool to see like, hey, I wrote a thing and it has like 9 million views. Not on my channel, but like it's kind of funny how that works sometimes, right? But yeah, no, writing is something like this whole YouTube journey for me started as just a creative outlet. I never started to be like, hey, I want to do the #1 podcast in Marvel Snap. Like that was never the true goal. It was, I want to like be creative. I want to have fun doing the things that I'm doing. And writing is one of those things that I do on the side that I truly find enjoyable. Cause I feel like when you write and you develop stories, like, there's limitless possibilities. And that's something I really appreciate. Yeah,
man. That's all the same here, dude. Totally. I was treated it as a hobby. Anytime I get a comment like, is it too late to make content on Marvel Snap? I'm like, I mean, dude, what are you doing it for? It was a hobby for me. It was a fun, and it was an outlet for myself. So definitely, we answered that question before, but yeah, I couldn't agree more.
The next question comes from Rambros. Is there a card you think it doesn't feel like the character it should represent? And if there is, what should it do instead? So I guess, like, is there a card effect that is not representative of the actual character itself?
There's tons of them. I think there's tons of them. I really do. I think they hit the nail on the head on a lot of them, but for me, it's a lot of the Avengers, man. Like Hawkeye, I kind of wish did something else, Captain America. But out of all of them, it's got to be Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange, like, I just don't get it. He is like one of the best characters in all of Marvel, and he moves a card. It's like, cool, man. He's a 2 card. I like, if I was coming into Snap, I'd be like, what the hell, man? This sucks. That's a bummer. Or I'd be trying to play him and be like, man, he's actually not that good. So Doctor Strange was a big whiff. I still think he's weird. I used to say switch him with Wong. Now I'm like, do something super cool with him. He does so many things within Marvel. That's what I want to see change.
He could almost like have done the Kang effect because his ability to manipulate the time stone, right? Like I know the Kang effect is not popular or anything. I'm just saying though that could have been him, right? That could have been Doctor Strange. For me, this is a really random one, but I watched painfully the entire first season and the only season of Inhumans because I was like really into like Black Bolt. I really wanted to watch the Inhumans. I don't want to be negative, but wow, horrible show. But regardless, Crystal's in it. And I came to realize, and I did some additional reading and like comics about Crystal. Crystal is way cooler in the comics and in like her capabilities than the game. Like she doesn't just draw. Why would she draw a card? So I'm gonna say Crystal, okay, who is the like a master of the elements. Okay, she should, when played, put a -1 power on their side and a +1 on your side. Imagine she was a 3/3 that did a -1 on their side randomly and a +1 on your side just randomly. I think that'd be really cool because she can like freeze someone like an Iceman, but she can fireball like someone, like she can master the element. She can do lightning, she can do wind.
Cool. I like that one.
She's pretty cool. I think that she could have had a little more flavor. So for me, one that came to mind was Crystal because I'd recently watched the show and I think that she's way cooler than the card in the game.
Love it.
And the last question of the Snapchat is, if there was one card you had to include in every deck from now on, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Iron Lad, because of course. Because he's the other cards in the deck. I'd play Iron Lad in every single deck. If it wasn't him, probably be Jeff.
You know what? It's kind of funny because for me, it used to be Chavez, but obviously that's no longer the case. One could make the argument, and I know you can be like, Alex, seriously, you just gave her like a poor ranking. Nico probably could be one that you could have in every single deck. Cozy can't even believe it. I mean, if you're going to have one card in every single deck for the rest of your Marvel Snap career, it's probably Nico, right?
Of the Snapchat, Alex, and I enjoyed you coming today.
Cozy can't even do anymore. He's done.
Enjoyed both of the sides. If you haven't, go ahead and check out my episode. It's great. It's fantastic. And Alex is looking as handsome as ever in his glasses. Still hates Christmas and doesn't know who the hell Nate King Cole is. Alex, any closing notes?
The only closing note is I hope you have yourself a wonderful day, and we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.